The silence wasn't simply silence, it felt like a final decision. The moment Charles Spencer reportedly refused, everything shifted. There were no dramatic press conferences, no lengthy explanations, and no public confrontation. Just one firm rejection that carried more weight than countless headlines. Suddenly, this wasn't just another proposal falling apart. It became a question about protecting Princess Diana's legacy and deciding who, if anyone, should have access to the most private pieces of her life. And almost instantly, attention turned away from what had happened and toward something far more intriguing. Why now? What convinced him to close the door so quickly without saying a single word? Because this was never an ordinary refusal. Charles Spencer has spent decades avoiding the spotlight despite standing at the center of one of history's most unforgettable moments. On September 6, 1997, before billions of viewers at Westminster Abbey, he delivered a speech that promised Diana's sons would always have the support of the Spencer family and would be protected from the forces he believed had caused so much pain. After that extraordinary moment, he stepped away from public attention almost completely. No media tour. No sensational interviews. No attempts to revisit the past. Only a carefully maintained silence. Over the years, that silence became one of his greatest strengths. While documentaries, books, magazine covers, and television specials continued telling Diana's story, Charles Spencer quietly guarded a side of her life the public never truly saw. Personal diaries, private home videos, treasured family memories, and intimate moments remained safely out of reach. Whenever publishers, broadcasters, or major production companies approached him with proposals, the answer reportedly remained the same. No. No matter how respectful the request appeared or how compelling the offer sounded, he consistently refused. He seemed to believe that public curiosity alone was never enough to justify opening every chapter of Diana's private world. That's why this latest proposal reportedly stood apart from all the others. It wasn't routine. It was larger, far more ambitious, and carried consequences unlike anything before. And that's where the conversation becomes far more complicated. Looking back to May 2018, many people remember the royal wedding as a celebration filled with symbolism. Meghan Markle wore Princess Diana's aquamarine ring during the evening reception, a gesture widely interpreted as a heartfelt tribute. Over time, however, other pieces associated with Diana also appeared. The butterfly earrings, the Cartier watch, and several familiar bracelets. Each appearance arrived during highly public moments, attracting significant media attention and inviting comparisons between the two women. That naturally raises a question many observers continue to debate. At what point does a tribute remain simply a tribute, and when do repeated references begin to create a broader narrative? A single moment can feel deeply personal. Two moments may still seem coincidental. But when similar references continue appearing during major public events, some viewers begin to wonder whether a larger pattern is taking shape. According to this perspective, Charles Spencer may have viewed these items not as ordinary jewelry, but as meaningful pieces of Diana's personal legacy. If so, he may also have felt increasingly concerned about how those symbols were being interpreted and woven into a public story that he neither controlled nor endorsed. Then came March 2021 and the interview with Oprah Winfrey, a moment that generated worldwide discussion. Many commentators noticed similarities between that conversation and Princess Diana's famous 1995 Panorama interview. Both featured deeply personal accounts, emotional reflections, and criticism of life within the royal institution. For some observers, the structure and tone naturally invited comparisons between the two interviews. Yet supporters of Charles Spencer's position often point to one important distinction. Diana gave her interview while she remained inside the institution she was describing, during a period of enormous personal difficulty. Meghan's interview, by contrast, was recorded after she and Prince Harry had stepped away from royal duties and begun building a new life in California. Whether people view those circumstances as comparable or entirely different depends largely on personal perspective, but the contrast has remained central to discussions ever since. For Charles Spencer, however, that difference may have carried enormous significance. There is another layer to this story that often receives far less attention. Years before, Charles Spencer found himself connected to one of the most controversial chapters in Diana's life. During the events surrounding the Panorama interview, he later acknowledged that he had been shown documents that turned out to be fraudulent. Believing they were genuine, he feared his sister had been betrayed by people around her. Acting on information he thought was true, he unintentionally helped reinforce the circumstances that led to an interview now viewed as one of the defining, and most debated, moments of Diana's life. That experience reportedly left a lasting impact. With that history in mind, some royal observers believe it helps explain why he may have reacted so strongly to anything that appeared to echo those events years later. Whether that interpretation is accurate remains a matter of opinion, but many see it as an important part of understanding his cautious approach toward Diana's legacy. And that brings us back to the proposal itself. According to reports, this was never simply about producing another documentary. It wasn't just another television project or anniversary special. What allegedly made it different was the reported request for access to deeply personal material that had remained protected for decades: private diaries, home videos, family archives, and moments from Diana's life that had never been shared publicly. These weren't ordinary historical records. They represented memories Charles Spencer had reportedly spent years preserving. That realization changes how the entire situation is viewed. The proposal reportedly went beyond using publicly available footage or retelling familiar events. It allegedly sought access to Althorp itself, the Spencer family estate, the peaceful grounds, and the secluded island where Princess Diana was laid to rest, a location chosen to provide privacy away from constant public attention. Beyond that, reports suggested interest in the sealed archives containing handwritten notes, personal recordings, and treasured family memories that had never entered the public domain. For someone who had protected those materials for nearly 3 decades, such a request would naturally carry enormous weight. Another element reportedly discussed was the idea of drawing a direct comparison between Meghan Markle and Princess Diana. Not simply highlighting similarities, but presenting Meghan as continuing aspects of Diana's public story. Whether audiences agree with that comparison or not, it has frequently appeared in media discussions over the years. When viewed alongside earlier public moments, the repeated appearances of Diana's jewelry, the comparisons following the Oprah interview, and ongoing public debates. The proposal could be interpreted as another chapter in a much broader narrative rather than a standalone project. From Charles Spencer's reported perspective, that sequence may have appeared increasingly difficult to ignore. If the emotional connections had already been established in the public imagination, then access to Diana's private archives could potentially strengthen those comparisons even further. Once personal diaries, unseen footage, or intimate family memories become public, they cannot simply be returned to privacy. They become part of documentaries, books, discussions, online debates, and future retellings for generations. For someone committed to preserving those memories, that possibility may have represented a line that simply could not be crossed. According to reports, the response was immediate and decisive. There were no lengthy negotiations, no gradual compromise, and no indication that access would be granted. The answer was reportedly straightforward: no access. Supporters of Charles Spencer's position argue that this decision reflected a principle he has followed consistently for decades. Regardless of who made the request or how significant the opportunity appeared, he has repeatedly maintained that certain parts of Diana's life deserve to remain private. Whether people agree with that approach or believe more of Diana's story should be shared, one thing remains clear: once private family archives leave their protected setting, they can never truly be private again. Every image, diary page, or personal recording immediately becomes part of the public record, interpreted through countless perspectives long after its original context has faded.